The Professional Golfers Association. I don't know anything about it. Needless to say, this will not be a speech about golf, but let's be honest, most of you are very relieved to hear that. While I can't teach you anything about those PGA Masters, by the time this speech is over, you will learn how to be a far greater kind of PGA Master. Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests, I grew up in a very small world, like Andy Griffith small. I was raised in the beautiful Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, surrounded by forest and family and not much else. I was also homeschooled, so my understanding of the world was very limited and very sheltered. I remember the moment the walls of that shelter began crashing down. I was 16, and I watched a documentary about child soldiers in Africa. It turned my world upside down. Before then, international awareness for me amounted to geography class and Sunday morning mission stories, distant and detached. But as the documentary put it, we now live in a world where we can see each other. This wasn't something happening over there anymore. I could see these children. I could hear their cries. There was no more hiding from the suffering of others. I quickly began learning about other injustices around the world. Discrimination, poverty, human trafficking, the overwhelming rate of preventable deaths. I was reeling. It was unfathomable to me that there could be so much suffering and injustice all around us, and yet we continued living our luxurious, comfortable lives in willful ignorance. I became an advocate, speaking out for awareness and action for the suffering, the subjugated and disregarded that I had learned about. When I turned 18, I finally got the chance to witness that injustice firsthand. I traveled to Nicaragua, where I saw a shanty town with my own eyes. Person after person living under a scrap of tin, a torn-up tarp, some wet cardboard. The children with homes ran around the city barefoot and wore clothes that didn't fit. Until then, I thought I'd been poor as a child. I'd been raised on food stamps, and had we not been vegan, it would have been that government cheese with dinner every night. Who knows what I'm talking about? I ran around barefoot, but only because I hated wearing shoes. And they may have been hand-me-downs, but my clothes, they always fit. I had looked injustice and suffering in the eyes, and I was more fired up than ever. I went home and changed my college major to missions. 1 year later, I was on my way as a missionary to Australia. Now, Australia is not a third world country by any stretch, but I saw a different kind of suffering there. Suffering that I recognized in myself. Depression, discontent. Suddenly I realized that despite the opulent wealth of the West, they and we were unsatisfied. When I went to Thailand the next year to build houses for refugees, something was different. But it wasn't the people. Like always, they had almost nothing, but shared everything. They were so engaged with each other and with life. Like always, the children ran around barefoot and improperly clothed, but with reckless abandon. They were so full of joy. As I took it all in, I began to feel jealous. These people were so happy. Could it be that I was the one who was missing something? After Thailand, I served in several other countries in quick succession. The Cook Islands, Indonesia, South Africa, with each trip becoming more and more convinced that it was me, not them, who was in poverty. A poverty of the soul. It was like the more I had, the less happy I was, and the less they had, the more they lived. I committed myself to figuring out why they seemed so much happier than me and so many other people I knew. So I searched, and I sought, and I scanned, and I scoured until I found an answer. I learned that they were PGA Masters. I discovered that there were 3 characteristics they all had in common, 3 practices they had all mastered. Oh, do you guys want to know what they are? Well, forget about the Professional Golfers Association. From now on, PGA for you stands for present, grateful, and alive. Those 3 characteristics, Those three practices are present, grateful. You like what I did there?
I get it.
And calm down. Alive. The first is present. Most of us live our lives concerned with the past, mistakes and missed opportunities, or the future, worries and fears of what may come and how we're going to make it. The people I'd encountered lived their lives present in the moment. The second is grateful. Most of us spend our time thinking about all those things we don't have, despite the fact that were we to stop and count, we'd run out of time before things to be grateful for. They were grateful for absolutely everything they had and everything they received. The third is alive. And I'm not talking about just living. I'm talking about being fully engaged with life, about relishing every moment, giving all of yourself to it, and receiving everything it has to give. Those people were alive. My friends, if you want to experience true wealth of the soul, learn to be a PGA Master. Be present in every moment you are given. Be grateful for everything that you have. Finally, in the words of Howard Thurman, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive. And go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Thank you, Mr. Contest Master.